Greetings from Mesa View United Methodist Church of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We hope this message will be meaningful and relevant to your life and your relationship with God. We are located at the corner of Taylor Ranch and Montana Road, and we invite you to join us for worship every Sunday. Our traditional service is at 8:30 a.m., and our contemporary worship is at 11 a.m. More information may be found at our website, mesaviewumc.com. To honor all copyright restrictions, we have removed some audio and video footage from this message. Now may you be blessed through the reading and hearing of God's holy word.
Our gospel reading this morning is from John chapter 15, verses 9 through 17. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commandments so that you may love one another. This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Today we continue in our sermon series on the gospel in Pixar, looking at the movie Toy Story 3. It's very rare to have the third film in any series be as good as or equal to the first one, especially if you're not planning on creating a third film in the series. Normally sequels are much worse than the first ones that come along, but Toy Story 3 is one of those that exceeds expectations of a third film. This film also holds a special place in my heart because it's the first film that Linda and I took our daughters to see in the movie theater. And also it's corrupted me and made me guilty every time I have to get rid of a toy. I feel guilty about it, especially if I have to throw it in the trash because it's not even donatable. I think, oh, what if they actually are alive? It breaks my heart. But Toy Story 3 continues the story of Woody the cowboy doll and his best friend Buzz Lightyear, a Space Ranger action figure who are owned by Andy, as well as the rest of the toys, although they're greatly reduced in number now as Andy has gotten older. And as Andy is preparing to go off to college, he has to clean up his room, and his mother accidentally throws all the toys away, puts them out on the street for the garbage to be picked up, except for Woody, who's in the box to go to college with Andy. Andy jumps out of the box and runs downstairs, risks his life in order to try to save the other toys so they're not thrown away in the trash. And he tries to convince them that it was a mistake that they ended up there, but he can't convince them that that's the case. And so they end up jumping into a box of other toys that are to be donated to Sunnyside Daycare. And when they arrive, they think everything is great, except that they don't realize that the daycare is run by a dictatorial toy by the name of Lotso Hugging Bear, who smells like strawberries, but who's a tyrant and runs the daycare for his own desires and intentions. Andy can't convince the toys that they still belong to Andy and that they need to go back to the house, and so he leaves them and ends up in the home of a little 4-year-old girl by the name of Bonnie, where he's played with again like he used to be with Andy, but he's still Andy's toy. And so wanting to go home, as he's leaving the house, he tells the Bonnie's toys, if you ever get to Sunnyside Daycare, tell him Woody made it home. And he finds out that Sunnyside is in fact a place of ruin and despair. So Andy goes back to save the other toys, to get them home before he leaves for college. And in doing so, Woody risks his own freedom and potentially his own life. This is not the first time that Woody has risked his life for his friends. He does the same thing in Toy Story 2 right at the beginning when he goes out to save Wheezy, who has been set out at the garage sale, and in turn then himself becomes a lost toy. So although Woody is crazy about his owner, Andy, and will do anything for Andy, he also loves his friends and will risk himself when necessary in order to help them out. That's what we heard in that passage from John this morning. This section of John is known as the farewell address. And Jesus is talking about what it means to be a disciple. More importantly, what discipleship looks like when we live it out in our lives. A large portion of the early section of John, it talks about belief. What are we supposed to believe and what happens when we believe? But then we get this shift. It is no longer just about belief. It's about living the faith. What does discipleship look like? And so Jesus says that we are to abide in his love. And that's not a word we use much anymore. I think we've lost something in not saying abide. To abide in someone's love. It means to dwell in, to continue in, to remain in. To abide in Jesus' love and live that out. If you keep my commandments, Jesus says, you abide in my love. So what does that look like? Keeping Jesus' commandments. And Jesus then says, the greatest commandments, to love one another as Jesus has loved us. And what does that look like? Laying down your life for your friends. Now the Greek word used here for a friend is philos. It comes from the Greek verb phileo, to love. So what Jesus is actually saying here is, lay down your life for those who are loved. And who are we to love? Everyone. Even those we don't particularly like. Even those who might not like us very much. Even those who would never do anything to help us. We are still supposed to lay down our lives on their behalf. So in trying to get out of Sunnyside, Lotso tries and stops the toys from escaping, and they all end up in a garbage truck on the way to the dump. And we get the next sort of example of this. Buzz Lightyear saves Jessie, the cowgirl, throwing her out of the way as a TV comes down and lands on Buzz himself. And then they find themselves at a landfill on the way to certain destruction when Lotso cries out for assistance. The whole reason they find themselves on that conveyor belt is because of Lotso. But that doesn't stop them from providing Lotso assistance when he needs it, risking their own lives to help him. And why do they do it? Because it's the right thing to do. Because when we begin to live into love, then we stop thinking about ourselves. Because that's at the heart of love. You can't be in love and only think of yourself. You can't be self-centered and be in love. We can't only be concerned about ourselves and be in love. Love requires us to think outside of ourselves for at least one other person, if not multiple people. Love draws us out of ourselves and should make us, at the very least, attuned to the needs of others. Of course, that's easy with people we truly love. It's a lot harder with people that we can't stand, or people who might actively be working against us. But love is not a feeling, it's a way of being, a way of acting in the world. So giving our lives for others is not really about actually risking our lives, although sometimes that's a part of it. But it's about giving of ourselves. And what Jesus tells us is who would ever save their own life will lose it, and whoever gives their life will save it. Because we only get one go-around at this. And so we can't lose it or waste it by focusing only on ourselves. Because when we do that, when we only focus on ourselves, we pay the price of actually losing our lives. We miss what this is all about. Because the alternative is we can give our lives. That is, give of ourselves to those around us, to our friends, those who are loved. And we do that because we are called to love. And in being called to love, we are called to live and to serve and to give. You cannot act in love by yourself. You must act in love with others. And regardless of what we hear all the time, there are no freestanding individuals. We are all connected. That's what Jesus is talking about. Abiding in me. This is where we get the image of the vine comes just a little bit later. I am the vine, you are the branches. Where does the vine end and the branch begin? Where does any branch begin? We don't know. They all combine together because we're all in this together. As Benjamin Franklin said in the lead up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, we must all hang together or surely we will all hang independently. And we see the same thing then played out as the toys face their future. If you notice, as they prepare to meet their fate, other than Jesse saying, "What do?" they don't say anything. They don't have to. They reach out and hold each other's hands. They carry one another's burdens in that moment, knowing what they all face together. And in that, they find strength to face that. They don't convey with words because they don't have to. Because they've already shown each other all along that they will go to any lengths to help one another. And then the light comes down from the sky and the claw saves them and they're carried upward. Are you getting the imagery here? This is not one where they say, "Don't go towards the light." Go towards the lights. And they're given new life. And Lotso loses his life because he better keep his mouth shut there on the front of the garbage truck. Because that's what happens. If you try to save your life, you will lose it, and giving your life, you will gain it. And after they make it back to Andy's house, they climb into the box that's supposed to be put up in the attic to be ready for whenever Andy needs them. And Woody climbs into the box to go off to college. And then Woody has a change of mind, and he leaves a note on the box of the other toys and tells Andy to take them to Bonnie's house. Of course, in Field of Dreams, Shoeless Joe Jackson says, "Is this heaven?" And the answer is, "No, it's Iowa." We might ask for Woody and the other toys, are they saying, "Is this heaven? Is this what giving your life is your reward?" Because for one last time, Woody gives of himself. But there's one other step, and that Andy also has to be willing to give of himself to let Woody go. He has to be willing to remember that Woody will always be there for him, that Woody is loyal to the end, that even when Woody is not with him, that Woody will be with him. And so Andy gives of himself to Bonnie. And we are called to do the same. We are called to love because God first loved us. And because God so loved us, God did what? He gave. He gave. And we are called to love just as God loved. We are called to give just as God has given. Sometimes those gifts are large and they cost a lot. That's best represented by this table which we gather at this morning. And sometimes those gifts are small, seemingly insignificant, but mean everything. Like giving up your favorite toy. There is only one measure, which we see in Scripture, that says if we are living into discipleship. And that is the love we show in the world. Jesus tells us to go and bear fruit, fruit that will continue. And that fruit is to do the works of love. That is the tangible sign of discipleship. Love one another as I have loved you. Jesus says we will be known by the love that we show. So go and love. For there is no greater love than this, than to give your life for those who are your friends, those who are loved. I pray that it will be so, my brothers and sisters.